All right, let's go back to the jury instructions, page 11. Before I start into the written jury instructions, since Mr. Prince mentioned read back a couple of times, let me comment on that. Yes, it is possible to get a read back of testimony, but I don't want you to think that's a simple process. That is a laborious process for the court reporters. If you are going to ask some part of a testimony to be read back, you need to be as specific as possible, and you do need to allow, it takes the court reporters hours to prepare to do that. So it's not, made it sound like it was something very, very simple and commonplace. It can be done, but don't take it lightly. I will tell you, transcripts are not available. They do not have transcripts done. That's something they do over a long period of time in preparation for an appeal. So sometimes we get a request for a jury transcripts. You will not be provided transcripts. So let's go to submitting case to the jury. In just a few moments, be taken in the jury room by the bailiff. The first thing you should do is choose a foreperson who will preside over your deliberations. The foreperson should see to it that your discussions are carried on in an organized way and that everyone has a fair chance to be heard. It is also the foreperson's job to sign and date the verdict form when all of you have agreed on a verdict, and to bring the verdict form back to the courtroom when you return. During deliberations, jurors must communicate about the case only with one another and only when all jurors are present in the jury room. You are not to communicate with any person outside the jury about this case. Until you have reached a verdict, you must not talk about this case in person or through the telephone, writing, or electronic communication, such as a blog, Twitter, email, text message, or any other means. Do not contact anyone to assist you during deliberations. These communication rules apply until I discharge you at the end of the case. If you become aware of any violation of these instructions or any other instruction I have given in this case, you must tell me by giving a note to the bailiff. Many of you have cell phones, tablets, laptops, or other electronic devices here with you. The rules do not allow you to bring your phones or any of those type of electronic devices into the jury room during deliberations. Kindly leave those devices with the bailiff while you deliberate. If you need to communicate with me, send a note through the bailiff signed by the foreperson. If you have voted, do not disclose the actual vote in the note. If you have questions, I will talk with the attorneys before I answer, so it may take some time. You may continue your deliberations while you wait for my answer. I will answer any questions if I can in writing or orally here in open court. During the trial, items were received into evidence as exhibits. You may examine whatever exhibits you think will help you in your deliberations. The exhibits will be sent into the jury room with you when you begin to deliberate. In closing, let me remind you that it is important that you follow the law spelled out in these instructions in deciding your verdict. There are no other laws that apply to this case. Even if you do not like the laws that must be applied, you must use them. For 2 centuries, we have lived by the Constitution and the law. No juror has the right to violate rules we all share. Let's go sidebar, please. Mr. Beasley and Ms. Adams, you need to remain here with us. The rest of you may step out. Take your notes with you. Even if you didn't make any notes, take your notepad and your pen. You may want something to write on. We will be sending the evidence to you. You may step out. Everybody have a seat, please. Now, it's tough at this point in time, having sat all this time and then get told that you're not going to get to go back and deliberate, but we do have alternates in these cases. A lot goes into getting one of these cases going, and if we lose a juror, we don't have alternates, we have to start all over again. Obviously, you understand that would be a big problem. Truthfully, I'm pretty surprised we got this far without using any of the alternates. Usually in the case this length, we'll use one, if not both of the alternates. But you were our alternates. You cannot be involved in the deliberations at this point in time. However, we are in a little bit of a unique situation there. If the jury comes back with a first-degree murder verdict, we are going to have another proceeding, a penalty phase proceeding, and we will need to have you for that. Because of that, I would ask that you do a couple of things for me. One, I would ask that you not discuss the case with anyone. You may get inquiries from the media, you may get inquiries from the friends, family. Please don't discuss it until we let you know that the case has been concluded. If there's not a first-degree murder conviction, we will call you and let you know what did happen. If there is a first-degree murder conviction, we need to have you back for that proceeding. We'll have to talk to you about exactly when that will be. I don't know for sure whether that'll be tomorrow or Thursday. It'll be one or the other. We do intend to conclude it this week. It won't go beyond this week, but there is that possibility. You don't have to stay here, although you're welcome to stay here. If you want to stay here just to see what happens, you're welcome to do that. Let Deputy Granger know that, and he'll find a safe place for you to sit. But if you want to go about your business, just give him a phone number where we could reach in an emergency. Some juror were to get sick before we get a verdict, we might have to call upon you for that. If we get a first-degree murder conviction, we definitely going to call upon you for that. So we'll keep you apprised of what's going on. We do appreciate the time and the attention. I understand that given 3 weeks of your time is a major commitment and probably feels a little bit of a letdown now at this point in time. But we do appreciate the time and the attention you've given us. You can't go back in the jury room, but Deputy Granger will retrieve any personal effects that you have for you, and he'll retrieve those for you. And I'll let you step out with them, and if you'll take them and see that they get safely on their way. Have a good afternoon. You can just leave your notes where they are, and we'll take care of them. All right, so on the evidence, everybody be seated. Y'all looked at me a little funny when I mentioned this distinction between perpetuated testimony and evidentiary statements. Are we clear that none of the perpetuated testimony is included in the evidence?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, okay. The defendant's statement can be submitted to the jury. The rest of the evidence, I believe y'all went through and made sure that what's being sent to the jury is what was properly in the evidence. The clerk is held on to any things that were simply demonstrative or court exhibits, correct, Barbara?
Correct.
All right. Any issues on the evidence?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
All right. It can be delivered to the jury. And the evidence list has been approved. That can be included. All right. Anything else from either side?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, thank you all. It was well tried on both both sides. I appreciate the fact that y'all worked together professionally, even though hard fought. There was good cooperation to make things work, makes the court's life a lot easier. I do appreciate that. We'll be in recess till we hear from the jury.